It's easy to take something like girls' education for granted today, right? But in India, it wasn't always a given, not even close. It was a tough, uphill battle fought by a handful of truly remarkable people who just refused to accept the status quo. So today, we're going to meet the visionaries who lit those very first sparks. So who were they? In a time when educating a girl was seen as, well, almost unthinkable, who were the pioneers brave enough to light those first lamps of knowledge? Let's dive in and uncover the names and the stories that literally changed the course of history for millions.
All right, here's our game plan. First, we'll look at just how big the challenge was. Then we'll meet the incredible couple who opened the very first school. From there, we'll see how that tiny spark grew into a real movement, championed by some amazing leaders, and finally, we'll celebrate the legacy they left behind.
Okay, so let's set the scene. We're heading back to the 19th century. And back then, when it came to girls' education, well, for the people in charge, it wasn't just on the back burner, it wasn't even on the stove.
And here's the crazy part. There were actually official recommendations, like something called the Woods Dispatch in 1854, that said, hey, we should probably be educating girls. But they were pretty much just words on paper. The government basically ignored it, which created this huge void. And that meant it was up to a new generation of Indian social reformers to step up and do the work themselves.
So, with the government sitting on the sidelines, who was going to light that first all-important spark? Well, the answer lies with a truly revolutionary couple and their amazing colleague. Meet Mahatma Jyotirao Phule and Savitribai Phule. Talk about a power couple. This husband and wife team took on what seemed like an impossible task, opening the very first school for girls in all of India. They weren't just talking about change, they were out there building it, brick by brick. Get this date in your head, January 1st, 1848. In a place called Baderi Wada in Pune, the Phules opened their school. Now this wasn't just opening a building, this was the start of a massive shift in thinking, a movement that would empower women for generations to come.
But the Phules weren't in this fight alone, not by a long shot. Working right there with them was Fatima Sheikh, an absolutely pivotal figure who, for too long, hasn't gotten the credit she deserves. She was essential to their mission and is now seen as India's very first female Muslim teacher, a total trailblazer.
So that first school in Pune was like lighting a match. But for a fire to really spread, you need more fuel. And the movement for girls' education was about to get a whole lot of it.
It happened fast. Just 1 year after the Phule school opened its doors, another one popped up, this time all the way over in Calcutta. It was started by a man named John Eliot Drinkwater Bethune. This was huge because it showed the idea wasn't just a one-off thing. It was starting to catch on. So, how did this new school actually get students in the door? Well, Bethune made a super smart move. He brought in the famous social reformer Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar to be the school's secretary. And that was a game changer. His name gave the school so much credibility that it convinced many hesitant Hindu families to finally enroll their daughters.
All right, pop quiz time. This question actually showed up on the UPSC Civil Services exam in 2021. So, who was the secretary? If you're thinking Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, you are absolutely right. See? His role was so important, it's literally become a key piece of Indian history.
And the story of this school just gets better. By 1879, it had grown into something even more revolutionary. Bethune College, the very first women's college in India. We're talking about a massive leap here, from basic schooling to higher education. This opened up a whole new world of possibilities.
Now, as the movement grew, it started attracting some really powerful champions, including two incredible women who had very different ways of getting things done, but shared the exact same powerful vision. So on one side, you've got Begum Sultan Jahan, who used her royal power and money to support education. And on the other, you have Begum Rokeya, a totally fearless writer and activist who wanted to challenge the entire system. Two women, two different strategies, both pushing for progress. To really get a sense of Begum Sultan Jahan's impact, just look at this number, 1 lakh rupees. That was the education budget for the state of Bhopal when she was in charge. And this money didn't just stay in Bhopal. She sent huge grants to colleges all over India. She was using her power to literally build the foundation for education nationwide. And then you have Begum Rokeya, whose weapon was the pen. And she did not pull any punches. Just listen to this. Religious leaders of every faith accorded an inferior place to women. I mean, wow. She was not afraid to call out the systems that held women back, arguing they were the real root of the problem.
Her work was just incredible.
She wrote Sultana's Dream, get this, a feminist sci-fi story about a world run by women way, way ahead of its time. She also founded the Muslim Women's Association to fight for education and jobs. She was an activist, an educator, and a literary genius all rolled into one.
So, after all this struggle, all this dedication, all this incredible vision, what was the result? Well, let's take a look at the amazing legacy of firsts that these reformers created.
You can literally see the dominoes fall right here. It all starts with that one school in 1848. A year later, the Bethune School. Less than 40 years after that, boom, we have the first female graduates. Then by 1916, powerful new organizations are forming. Each step made the next one possible. It's a century of pure progress.
And here it is. This is what it was all for. In 1883, these two women, Kadambini Ganguly and Chandramukhi Basu, walked out of Bethune College with their degrees. They were the first two female graduates in the entire Indian subcontinent. They were living, breathing proof that the dream of the Phules, of Vidyasagar, of all of them, was finally real.
The work these pioneers did was nothing short of heroic. They kicked down doors that had been locked and bolted for centuries. And that kind of leaves us with a big question to think about, doesn't it? Building on their amazing legacy, what doors are still left for us to open today?